NBC News and MSNBC political analyst, former U.S. Senator and former prosecutor Claire McCaskill. She and Jim Palmieri are co-hosts of the MSNBC podcast, How to Win 2024. Also senior political columnist for Politico, Jonathan Martin.
J. Mart.
I'm just going to leave that there. And staff writer for The New Yorker, Susan Glasser as well.
So J. Mart, you have traveled around the country.
You look like it.
You have talked to Republicans. You've talked to elected leaders on both sides of the House. Yes. You know, like I know, because I've talked to them too, all of those people clapping and all of those people hugging Donald Trump and all of those saluting Donald Trump all hate Donald Trump, all say terrible things behind his back. Yeah. And even that guy right there said, if you're a Christian, J.D. Vance, at one point said, if you're a Christian, you cannot vote for this man. And yet, here we are, J. Mart.
They're living a life that they're not terribly thrilled about, but it's the life that they've chosen because their voters like him. Joe, their voters love him, actually, and they live in fear of their voters. And look, that's the issue, right? There's a fundamental difference between the leadership class of the party and the rank and file voters. They're not the same party. And you've got a residue of an earlier party that's still left, especially in the Senate, that does not reflect where the party's voters are. So they have to fake it. And they've been doing that for going on a decade now. Some of them quit or retire or are defeated, but if those who stick around, they make this accommodation and they do it unhappily, but that's the life that they're living. And boy, guys, I have to say, to have Doug Mills, the prize-winning photographer for the New York Times, come into the NRSC yesterday to shoot that session, to record it for history. Trump knows what he's doing. He's getting the best photographer in journalism today to come record all the supplicants in the Senate kiss his ring yesterday because he wants those pictures for history.
Supplicants and, you know, Claire McCaskill, Willie and I talk about it all the time. And we would just say, because we're men, we talk about how we would respond as men if somebody insulted our wives and called them ugly, and if somebody accused our father of being part of the JFK assassination, or if somebody gave out our phone numbers, like Trump gave out Lindsey Graham's phone numbers and insulted Lindsey as much as he did. We could just go down the list. You know, I mean, Mitch McConnell shook hands with a man who has unleashed a torrent of racist comments about his wife. But he did it. I just got to say, I'm just going to say this. I'm an old guy, so I'll just say the way that we would say it in the past. And Willie and I have talked about it now. As a man, you do any of those things, you cross that line, there is no going back. There, you insult my father, my wife. Like, there's no going back. There's no shaking your hand. There's no endorsing you. In fact, I will focus on destroying your political career for the rest of my life. By the way, people who know me know when they have insulted close friends who have passed away, I literally spent the next 20 years going after them because, well,
it's wrong.
You just don't let bullies beat up friends and family members.
Yeah, I watched that video, and my former colleagues were going, power, self-respect, power, self-respect. Okay, I'll go with power. I'm not going to go with self-respect. A couple of things stood out to me about his meetings on the Hill yesterday. One, did you see that awkward moment where Joni Ernst was forced to kiss his cheek? Katie Britt rushed him and, of course, was like, oh, I love you, and hugged him and stuff. And then he walks by Joni Ernst and he sticks his cheek out, and Joni kind of goes over there and has to peck it. And by the way, there's a picture of Josh Hawley. I wish somebody would ask Josh Hawley what he was running from that day on January 6th when the cameras caught him running. And why was he running? If he's written a book on masculinity and how you be a man, I don't know what men run from, but usually it's because they're afraid for their lives. So, and then the other thing think about this for a minute, guys. Donald Trump got in front of members of Congress and wanted to talk about whether Taylor Swift was going to endorse him. I mean, that's just weird. I mean, that is a scrambled brain. First of all, they're under no set of circumstances is Taylor Swift ever gonna endorse Donald Trump, ever. And so him bringing it up is such a self-own that he cares more about Taylor Swift endorsing him than any of those losers that he was requiring to applaud him.
That was a strange scene.
It's a strange obsession. That's come up a lot lately. He doesn't understand why Taylor Swift doesn't like him. He thinks that she should come out and endorse him. I think he's obsessed with people who are really, really famous because that's the thing that matters to him. I guess he's stardom, something like that. So, Susan Glasser, we should point out that today is Donald Trump's 78th birthday, and you're writing a piece about his age. Also, those Senate Republicans brought him a cake, brought him out a cake yesterday. I think we have it here. There it is. There's your cake, sir. Mr. President, let me lean in and get my president with you, blowing out the candles at your birthday party. House Republicans saying happy birthday to him as well. A significant day, though. So much is made about Joe Biden's age. The RNC deceptively editing clips while he's overseas to suggest that he's too old to serve. 78, no spring chicken either, though, is it, Susan?
Yeah, it's a pretty remarkable moment, I have to say. Donald Trump is making the case, that people try to make against President Biden. It seems to me that he is ought to be the poster boy. I note that they did not have the televised photo op singing happy birthday to Trump because it might underscore the very visible. I mean, even the Trump of 2016 or 2020 was far more coherent. We're only a few days away from his infamous sharks, electric boat, electrocution speech in Las Vegas, truly one of the classics of the genre. Yesterday, in that meeting with House Republicans, according to various reports, he even said that the city where Republicans are going to nominate him for president was a horrible city, Milwaukee. He talked about Taylor Swift. He rambled on about Nancy Pelosi and claiming that, maybe they would have made a good couple. Crazy stuff like this. And I think it's the kind of unspoken, naked man in the room problem with Donald Trump. All those people applauding and cheering him are afraid to talk about the reality of who he is.
J. Mart, I know you're a man who likes Milwaukee. And I know that that's the Republican host convention city, and that Donald Trump just bashed it yesterday. So you can weigh in on whether you think that has any electoral impact there. Certainly waves of negative headlines in a key swing state. But to Susan's point, that was just one of a number of really off-the-wall things that Donald Trump said yesterday. He's now 78 years old as of today. There's been so much concern about that looming debate, now just 2 weeks' time away, about what President Biden will do. Will he deliver a strong, coherent performance? But don't Trump's staffers have to be worried about the exact same thing for Donald Trump, who's going to be up there with no audience to cheer him on, no crowd to feed from, and yet might be exposed saying, frankly, a lot of things that just don't make a lot of sense?
Well, that's precisely the Biden calculation, is that they know that they have to show to the country that Biden can stand up there for 90 minutes and prove that he is still fit for office. And that they have to get Trump back into the camera frame, which he's really not been for the last year, and remind the country of why they voted Trump out. So, yeah, that's the dual Biden motivation, John. And the hope, the bet that Biden is making is that, he's going to obviously stand and deliver, and that Trump is going to have a repeat of the performance that he did in the fall of 20 when he had COVID famously on the debate stage and really was sort of a rampaging, for an hour plus. And I think that's the Biden hope. The country sees Donald Trump and says, yeah, you know what? I have some questions about Biden's age and capacity, but boy, I can't bring this guy back to my living room for 4 more years. I just can't do Trump once more. That's certainly the hope and the plan. And given what Trump has been saying lately, he does seem more prone to some colorful explanations. I can't guarantee, Susan, that we're going to have the shark death versus the battery death underwater question, one of the great deliberations of our time, but we can hope.